All right, everybody, welcome to another deep dive. Um, Today we are looking at something that really caught my eye recently. It's Python code
Oh yeah.
inside Microsoft Excel.
Very cool stuff.
Yeah, so we've got some instructions and stuff that Microsoft has put out, and we're going to take a deep dive into it. And yeah, I'm really curious. I mean, this seems like it could be a total game changer, but it also could just be
Yeah.
like a cool gimmick.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how they've actually implemented this. Excel and Python
All
are
right,
kind of different worlds, right?
totally. Yeah.
People.
So one of the things that really jumped out at me is right off the bat, they're talking about using CTRL+ENTER
Okay.
to commit Python formulas
Interesting.
in an Excel cell, and
Yeah.
I don't really know what that means.
It sounds a little intimidating, right? Like what is
Yeah.
committing a
Yeah,
formula?
yeah. Like, what are we actually doing?
Right. So I think it's helpful to think about it in the context of like normal Excel. So when you type in like a regular formula in Excel and you hit enter,
Right.
you're essentially like telling Excel like, okay, I'm done typing this. Go ahead and calculate this thing.
Gotcha.
Committing the Python code is kind of like that. It's like you're giving Excel the green light
Yeah.
to actually like run the Python code and then give you back the results.
So it's not like we're
Right.
opening up a terminal
Right. Yeah.
and running it in a separate program.
It's all happening.
It's all right. Yeah.
Within the spreadsheet. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So one of the other things is, it's not just about simple calculations. They're talking about you can access
Yeah.
all these powerful Python libraries.
Right.
Um, what does that actually mean for people who maybe aren't familiar with that?
So think about a Python library as like a box. Okay.
Okay.
You have this toolbox and it's full of like specialized tools for different tasks.
Right.
And it's a collection of pre-written code, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You
Right.
can just use these tools that other people have already built. And so
Yeah.
it allows you to do really complex things without having to write hundreds of lines of code.
So like you could do something with just a couple lines of Python code
Exactly.
that could take you a week to figure out,
Potentially.
like normal Excel formula.
Yeah. And that's really where the power comes in.
Right.
It's not just about speed. It's about opening up this whole new world of possibilities.
Like what kind of stuff are we talking about?
So you could automate like repetitive tasks.
Okay.
You could create custom visualizations. You could even like pull in data from websites, things that would be really difficult or impossible with just the standard Excel functions.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
if we're writing Python code inside Excel, does that change how the data in our spreadsheet is treated? Like, how does Python deal with like
That's a really good question.
numbers and text and all that?
Yeah, and it's something to be mindful of because Excel has its own way of storing data, like you said, numbers, text, dates, and Python has its own data types.
Yeah.
The good news is that when you're using Python in Excel, there's a lot of like automatic conversion happening behind the scenes.
Okay.
But you do need to be aware of potential hiccups. So for example, if you have like a column of dates
Right.
that are formatted in a way that Python doesn't recognize,
Okay.
you might need to do some tweaking to make sure that everything is compatible.
So there's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve, but I think that it's
Okay.
a learning curve that's probably worth it.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go back to this CTRL+ENTER thing for a sec.
Okay.
Um, we talked about how it's kind of like hitting enter for a regular formula,
Right.
but isn't it also kind of a clever way to make this whole Python thing feel less intimidating?
I think so, for sure. I think they're trying to kind of bridge the gap for people who are comfortable with Excel formulas but have never really touched code before.
Yeah.
And so by using that familiar keyboard shortcut,
Right.
it makes it feel a little bit more approachable.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, hey, look, you already know how to do this.
Exactly.
You can handle this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, I think the big takeaway here is that Microsoft is really trying to bring the power of Python to the masses
Yeah.
through Excel. We've talked about, how it works, some of the things you can do with it, some of the potential gotchas.
Right.
But I think the big question is this a game changer or is it just a fancy new toy?
Yeah. That's the million-dollar question, right?
Totally.
I think it's too early to say for sure.
Yeah.
It really depends on how well they integrate it, how easy they make it to use, and ultimately like how much value people get out of it.
Right.
But I do think that if it takes off, it could potentially change the way that millions of people work with data.
That's a great point.
Imagine a world where anyone who can use Excel can also tap into the power of Python. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a really, really interesting point to ponder.
Yeah,
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into
absolutely.
Python and Excel. I hope everybody out there enjoyed listening and, maybe go open up your spreadsheet and
Yeah, give it a shot.
see what Python can do for you.
Yeah, have some fun with it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
See